are. Good evening, Jan, or good afternoon, Jan.
Good morning, Michael.
There we go.
I still
That's
made
the
it
right
in
one.
time.
Yes, indeed.
Uh, I, I just had a telephone call, but this one was quite convincing.
Oh.
It was an automatic message from Cardstop. I don't know whether it's
Hmm.
something European or something international. Cardstop is a company where you can block your credit card if you lose it, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So now you get an automatic message. If you don't recognize, uh, there has been a transaction of 700 euros. If you don't recognize that, please dial 1. If you do recognize it, dial 0. You dial 1, and then you don't get somebody with an accent on the line, but somebody who speaks perfect Dutch,
Mm-hmm.
um, who is very professional. It's always strange. First thing he asks, he said, why do you call? I say, no, you did. You call me. Okay. What's your name and your birthday? I say, well, you tell me. No, we cannot tell that because that's private. Yeah, private also. Next time. But it's
Wow.
they, whatever to force people into, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
to give them their details and to get your money. It's incredible. All the fake things today.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, yeah. On the one hand, I'm thinking, yeah, these are problems that we created because we built these insecure uh, protocols. Right? The telephone, email, no
Mm,
security around those. Credit cards. Just, here's a number you can charge. That originally uh, no security. And yeah, so that's what I'm thinking on one hand. But then on the other hand, um, I'm thinking that these types of scams have been around for a long time. They just have evolved with the
mm.
technology.
They just have communication possibilities now that they didn't have before.
Yeah,
Um, because you can build in whatever you want. It's always the same. It's trust between people.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, and yeah, with the advent of AI, we do need to keep an eye on what does it mean. How do you know that it's a person?
how do I
It's getting
how
harder
do I
and
know
harder.
that it's you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We're I think we're just about to the point where it's like you can have AI puppetry. It's like I'm going to just
Mhm.
speak, but then it's immediately going to be transformed into somebody else's voice, and my face is going to be transformed into somebody else's face. So I'm just a
Yeah.
puppet behind this digital avatar.
Yeah, but it becomes very complicated. Um,
Hmm.
but okay,
Yeah.
whenever there is a problem, there is a solution. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, and often the solution is just critical thinking, like you employed there. It's like
yeah,
that
but
always
some
that always works.
yeah, it always works, but it amazes me because they it's 5 times a day that they call you for whatever
Hmm.
here in France, but every time it's very transparent.
Mm.
Your internet connection is we are the provider. Your internet connection is going to be down for 5 days. Well, that's fine. Don't worry.
Hmm.
or or there is some subsidy for this or for that. Yeah. Or you just want a present.
Mm.
Well, you can have it. Don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a feature on iOS to block unknown callers. So I've got that turned on. So if they're not in my contact list, then it doesn't ring through.
Yeah, but to block everybody you don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes I have to turn it off if I'm like I'm at I'm servicing my car and um, I don't have the garage's number in my contacts.
Mm.
Okay, I'll turn it off for a little bit so that they can call me and tell me my car's died ready. But yeah, for the most part, that's turned on. I wish they had the same feature for text. I mean, there is this report and delete feature, so I could report this as junk text, but I don't think that anybody's training any models on recognizing junk text, because it would be really easy to recognize this text. It's usually, hey. It's like, oh, okay, I'm not going to respond to hey. Or I say, oh, I missed you last night. And then a picture of, of somebody that they think that you would
You
want
don't
to have
know.
seen last night. And yeah.
Don't remember that in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
No, but no. In an Android, you can do this the same thing. Block everybody except when they are in your call list. But I switch it on automatically during the night, from
Right.
midnight to 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. But yeah, running a
But
business, you can't have it turned on all the time.
yeah, yeah. And there are always people which I don't expect, and they do call me, which I don't have their number initially. But okay,
Yep. That is
that's the
fine.
way life is.
That
Always
is.
the disadvantages and the advantages both together. Good. Immutable properties or immutable architecture.
Yes, yes.
Um,
Yeah, I did have a surprise presentation last night. So for the North Dallas.net user group, they they lost their speaker for for this month, and so the organizer contacted me and said, "Hey, you want to get in front of a group of people and talk about the new book?" And it's like, "Yes, of course I do." So so yeah, I revamped the talk that I created 4 years ago with the launch of the first edition about exploring an immutable architecture. So revised that talk, and I think it's much better now. So so that went pretty
and
well, and it
it's
was
somewhere
recorded.
recorded, or
It was recorded, so it will be showing up on the NorthDallas.net YouTube channel.
okay.
So I'll make sure that everyone's
I
got
must
that.
or
And
in the usergroup.tv perhaps.
no, it's not on that one. Let me see if I can locate NorthDallas.net on YouTube. Yeah, North Dallas Developers Group. This is them. So let me show you what I'm seeing.
Oh, yeah. Exploring immutable architecture. What happens if we took immutable architecture seriously? And that was the 5th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Yep.
But
Yep.
where is the
Yeah.
recording?
So on at YouTube / North Dallas Developers.
Okay.
That is the YouTube channel. And if you look back there, 8 months ago, I thought it was a full year ago. Oh, it was published 8 months ago. There's Identity, Immutability, and .NET Polyglot Notebooks. So yeah, I was there last year showing off Janaga in notebooks. And if you go back even further, let's see. I don't see the. Okay, I thought that this was the same channel where they had published. Oh, this is the latest. Sorry. How far back should it go? Well, let's go back to oldest. No, okay. So looks like the video from the first recording is not on this channel. I thought it was, but
yeah, and the one from yesterday is already on the channel or not?
it is not. No.
Okay.
No.
Just have to wait.
The latest was Samir doing prompt engineering.
So in 2 months' time it will be there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is probably about right. But yeah, I still have to go back and watch. Oh wait, no, this is the latest. The one from Corey Drew on Git internals. I do have to go back and watch that one. I missed that
Mhm.
session. I was here for Elizabeth. She did intro to Power Apps. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I work with both Corey and Elizabeth,
Hmm.
both improvers.
Good. I'm gonna register that YouTube channel. It might be interesting.
Yeah. I did it again. There we go.
Infinity. Okay. So on DWS,
Mm-hmm.
I updated Visual Studio again. I started again with .NET MAUI,
Mm-hmm.
but I opened Pluralsight again. Yeah, because .NET MAUI, MVM with the community toolkit.
Mm-hmm.
I took your blog MAUI application there,
Yeah.
but last time I didn't manage to run it because it worked with Apple ID.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. It does at this point have both buttons up there.
okay, I say okay, forget about that one for a
Mm-hmm.
while. I just looked into the source code, but didn't try to run it. But so it has Google in
Yes.
Google.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, on the login page, there's two buttons. Um, so yeah, I haven't tried to see what it does if you don't configure one of those two. So it might crash if you don't have the Apple configuration in there for it to load. But I don't know. Just showing the button, it shouldn't need the configuration yet. Once you hit the button, then it looks things up and tries to
Because
go. So
what happens if, for example, in the application, I would say I take the memory store and I don't set up a replicator.
hmm yeah. So in that case, it's just all local to the application. When the application shuts down, the data is gone.
Yeah, but um, then the whole login is
hmm
doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's yeah, that's true. Yeah, it doesn't really complete the picture. Although it does, when you log in, give you a user fact. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, but yeah, you need a replicator. You need a replicator in order to configure the login in the first place. So,
Yeah.
so yeah. If you don't have a replicator at all, then you don't have any of that login information. And so, clicking the button will probably just throw an exception. I'm not sure what
Mm-hmm.
exception, but um, yeah, yeah. So it does require that you set up a replicator in order to experience that. Now
Mm-hmm.
the application does have two halves to it. The not logged in half and the logged in half. The not logged in half is just a placeholder page, but the intention there is that I want to convey the fact that an app is just like a website. You can go there and browse around without having logged in, and you can learn about the organization, the domain, whatever it is that you went there to learn about, and then you can log in and you can work with it. So I showed how you can ship an app that has those two
Mm-hmm.
experiences. So it's just
Okay.
right now the not logged in experience is the placeholder.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I will because I didn't even try to run it. I said okay, last time it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
um, so I went immediately to Maui again. Uh, got the environment running as it
Mm-hmm.
should be with all the updates. But so no, not really something to run yet.
Okay. Okay. And when you went to Pluralsight, did you find a good source?
Well, there is a new course from where is it? Let me see. Lindsay Bros,
Okay.
which is something recent. Wait, let me see whether I can.
Very good. Yeah, they've
Um,
they've been in contact saying, "Hey, we're
yeah,
building some Maui content. Are you interested?"
yeah. It's it's called it. It's one of the intermediate courses. It's building .NET MAUI applications with MVVM.
Oh,
And she
nice.
talks also about the .NET community toolkit.
Excellent.
The only she's a little bit fast in editing. She doesn't type everything she does, copy paste.
Yeah.
Perhaps I can. And it's a recent course because it was updated in March of this year.
Okay. All right. Let me. Yeah, I'm getting logged into Pluralsight now, so I can take a look. And I wanted to get past the author pages.
How can I send you the message? Well, oh no, is it? Oh, that's just mail icon.
There we go.
Right, I paste you the name. Send message. Yeah, and then the name of the course. And it's based on Visual Studio 2022 and .NET 8. So
Okay.
I've sent you the name of the author and
All right. So looking it up now. There we go. Lindsay Brose. Building .NET MAUI apps with MPVM. Excellent. Okay. Yeah. So I really love that she's using the community toolkit. Cool. Yeah. This should be a really good starting point for you. Yeah. I'm kind of curious what the what the example application looks like. Let me see if I can.
It's an example application for event organizers who want to sell tickets.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
So it's a ticketing application.
Uh-huh. Excellent.
So perhaps.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
That is
so
a familiar domain.
she's trying to make a mobile version of it. But so perhaps the immutable architecture Jinaga could be incorporated.
Yeah. In fact, this domain is a really good example of integrating an immutable architecture with a stateful architecture, because you can have all of the intent to purchase kind of experience right up until you actually reserve a seat, all be immutable. But then reserving the seat, that's modeling scarcity, and so that requires a static
central point.
Yeah, or stateful. Yep. So nice. And so demonstrating the integration of those two, that would be a really good example. And I use Festify as an example for a lot of things. In fact, that was the example that I showed last night. And Festify is all about promoting events, but I deliberately did not go to the ticket purchase portion of it for that conversation, because you have to leave the historical model to do that. But yeah, finishing out Festify with the purchase experience, that would be a really good demo.
Yeah, I was looking into Festify as well because I saw that recently you were working on it, and probably because you where did I see it? It was perhaps on Festify.
Yeah, so it's on GitHub, Michael L. Perry /Festify.
Oh, okay, it was on not on Jinaga where I saw it.
Yeah, it's not on Jinaga. And that's because this example application is showing immutable architecture using a SQL database. So it's traditional tools is the whole point of this one.
It was because it's not it was not Maui. Is
Right, and
that
this also is
correct?
not a Maui app. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I say okay. Let's concentrate on the Maui
Mm-hmm.
block sample. Um, but then there I say okay. Apple login, forget it. Um, and
Yeah.
then I got with the Lindsay Bros course. I say okay. Let's try to make something out of the tool.
Mm-hmm.
I say try that course and immediately built a DWS at,
Oh.
uh,
Oh, okay.
in real time.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
But then I say, okay, forget that. Build her example, um,
Mm-hmm.
and when everything works and you fully understand it,
Yeah.
then let's because otherwise,
Yeah. Yeah.
for
That makes.
somebody who forgets faster than he learns, it gets complicated.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Now, and absolutely watch all of her course. It's only 3 hours, so it's a it's an it's a
It's even not
nice
three
size
hours,
choice.
so it's yeah.
Oh.
But you really have to stop it
Yeah.
very frequently.
Yeah, I imagine so. But then
And
when you get down to working with remote data and data services, and absolutely watch that module and work through it. But then know that Janaga is going to be different.
mhm,
Yep. Um,
of course, because that's just a standard API. So
yeah. Yeah, but everything else is, yeah,
mhm.
is exactly attributable. Testing. Unit tests. Wow, only 6 minutes on testing. Yeah. Yeah, the way that I approach testing, yeah, it's probably just me. I would probably put the testing module earlier in the course and make it longer. Use that as a way to, although
Introduction,
that's not,
testing.
yeah, yeah. Although
Mhm,
this being a Maui course, it's all about
mhm,
how do you use Maui specifically, and the unit tests are basically going to isolate all of the Maui specific stuff and just I'm going to test through the view model. Um,
mhm,
and the view model ends up just being a class. The fact that it implements I notify property changes is not important to the unit test, um,
mhm.
unless you say
A bit,
I assert that property changed was raised,
mhm.
but then you're just testing the MVVM framework and community MVVM toolkit works great. So don't test it; it's already
Now
tested.
she starts earlier in the course talking about the importance of testing.
Oh, good.
Um, but okay, it's just one of the advantages of the MVVM
Mm-hmm.
where she mentioned it. Um, talking about testing,
Mm-hmm.
when in the notebook, um, that was one of the things
Mm-hmm.
I was still thinking that would be nice if we could, um, because actually, so we have the model notebook.
Mm-hmm.
We are all the time adding things,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be nice that we could still be sure that all the results of the previous queries are still running fine.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh, so could you have a test framework that takes a whole bunch of
in
notebooks?
inside notebooks.
Hmm.
But then I say, in fact, yeah, if you want all that, you should go back to VS Code
Yeah,
or
probably should.
Visual Studio
Yeah.
and add markup possibilities and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and all the graphics um, inside VS Code.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, true. You do get to a point where you need to make that jump,
mm,
but it is a jump. Your code is already in the notebook, and then you have to copy it into C# files. Yeah, and then as you evolve the application in one, it degrades in the other, or it just falls behind.
mm,
Yeah, but that would be
so-
kind of interesting to stay in notebooks longer. while you're um, evolving the model, because just seeing the graph is
Mm.
I really, and I've gotten kind of used to reasoning through a model without looking at the graph, but when I try to take the shortcut and it's like, oh, okay, let me just go ahead and model this in code and then start writing, then I have to pause and think, and I find that I'm slower. But if I
Mm.
actually have the graph, I'm faster. Um, and for people just learning the system, the graph is absolutely necessary.
And when you're discussing with customers,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's notebook is the ideal environment
Yeah.
because you can just develop your model while you are discussing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe a notebook, it describes a thing and then has some queries, some specifications in it, and some tests at the bottom, or sprinkled throughout.
yes.
And
So
then
just some.
yeah, and then you can say my test suite is this set of notebooks, and somehow the test suite is able to run all the notebooks. That should be easy to do, but then inspect the tests inside of it to see if they passed or failed, and then give you a report.
Especially, do I still get the same result out of the query?
Mm-hmm.
That's in fact the only thing you should
Mm,
be able to test.
I see. Yeah. 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 So snapshot testing. Okay. Yeah, I usually do assertion-based testing, but
Mm.
yeah, you're right. Snapshot testing makes a lot of sense here, because you've got the data. You said, given this data, when I have this specification, these are the results. Um, so
So if
yeah, the results might
and
be
so
complicated.
automatic,
Just snapshot
mm.
it.
And that means also at if during the development somewhere you make a change to your model,
Mm-hmm.
automatically you will find out which queries and which part of the applications are affected by the model change.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's intriguing. Um, okay. Well, that's going on the
This,
backlog of think about it.
mm,
It's not quite going on the backlog of work on it, but yeah, yeah.
it's for the moment it's not
Notebook unit.
really important, but when I was playing with it, at a certain moment I say, hey, last week I tested this, I reasoned through it whether that was the set that I should have, but is it still the same result that I'm getting today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think the first step that I would do is to write that as a snapshot test in Visual Studio. Um,
Mm.
so um, so yeah, with I'm trying to remember some of the names of the snapshot testing frameworks, but there are frameworks that instead of having assertions at the bottom of your test,
Mm.
you run the test and then say, take a snapshot of this data structure. So here's the view model that comes out of it, or here's the results of that query, whatever, and then it records that object model to a file, um,
Mhm.
and then when you run the test, it just compares what it gets to what's in the file, um, and uh, and then if things change, test breaks, you evaluate, either you fix or you say, you know what, that change is intentional. Let me record a new snapshot, and now the test passes. So what I would be interested in is how much of the internals of Janaga facts leak through um, that object model and will get captured by the snapshot test in such a way that just the fact that you ran the test at a different time, now different timestamps show up, or different hashes show up, or but it's really the same results. So there must be some way in those snapshot testing frameworks to say ignore things that look like this.
Mm.
So there might be some configuration that's necessary in order to get that to work well with Janaga. But I think that's where I would start, and then see if running that inside of, if there's some way that we could automate notebooks in order to run a bunch of
Mm.
notebooks.
And even because if you say you save the results And so next time you run the notebook, you
Mm-hmm.
retrieve that result, you compare it with the current results.
Oh, you're right. Notebooks already save results. Yeah. You
Yeah.
use IPYNB instead of DIB, and it
Mm,
saves the results. So, okay.
so it shouldn't be so complicated to implement it as part of Jinaga, for example.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm. Okay. Okay, that's moving up the list. Now there is uh, um, so I want to take Janaga GraphViz and augment it a little bit more with some notebook specific stuff. Actually, GraphViz is already kind of notebook specific. It's really no reason to use that outside of a notebook. So maybe I'll just end up renaming Janaga GraphViz to make it Janaga Notebook, um, because I want to add a few other notebook specific features, like the fact the capability of logging in. Um,
mm,
so um, so yeah, you should be able to configure not just a test Janaka client, but connect it to an actual replicator. I do that periodically, but whenever I do that, I have to hand code a an authorization service inside the notebook and then give it a token. So it's like, okay, I'm going to
okay.
go over here to the website, log in, grab the token, paste it in
Mm,
there, or be smarter about it and have it look for a file. Yeah, so that I can just change the file and not have secrets in a notebook. But but yeah, wouldn't it be awesome to configure it to say connect to this replicator and log in using OAuth, and here's the OAuth um,
yeah.
yeah, configuration, and then you hit play and a browser window shows up. You log in, browser
Mm,
window goes away, and it keeps running. That should be possible.
right. Yeah, that would be nice extensions to Jinaga.graphics.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep. And so continuing on from there, then the testing support
yeah.
would make a lot of sense uh,
And
in that
then
same assembly.
and then it becomes automatically adapted where you leave out random dates, GUIDs,
Right.
these type of fields.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. So instead of just dumping the results, you run it through a function, and then you dump the output of that, and so that function strips out all the stuff that it
mm,
needs to. Yeah. Yeah, and that would be running inside the notebook, but then there would have to be something that runs outside the notebook that
mm.
does a whole bunch of them, and then reaches in and compares with the Sage.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because yeah, you should run all the query files,
Mm-hmm.
um, because we change them up, the model, the setup, the model, the facts, and then the query.
Mm-hmm.
Um, unless you would chain all the queries, but it's a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. While you're working on part of it, you just want
Mm,
that part to be in
mm,
scope. Um, Now there is one thing. So I have been playing around a little bit with the import capability. There is one thing uh, that started to kind of bug me a little bit. So I wonder if you've run into this. Um, if you have two notebooks that import the same thing, um, so you've got your setup, so you get your Denaga
mm,
client, and now you've got two notebooks that both import that, so they could use it. But now maybe you have a fourth notebook that needs parts of both of these. So it needs part of this model, part of that model, and it's going to join them together. Um, so that creates the diamond, the old C++
mm.
diamond of death. Um, and so do you end up creating a Janaga client here and then creating a different Janaga client here, and then by the time you get to the fourth one, you've only got one Janaga client, doesn't contain this data.
I haven't tried that scenario, because in that case you really you get the Jinaga client from both sides.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
in my
So
case, it was always a linear. Um, going from the setup, the model, the facts, and the query. So I only have one model file.
Yeah. Yeah,
Why would you split it up?
I was trying kind of a vertical slice approach, or maybe like a subdomain approach, a bounded context approach, whatever. So it's like, in fact, I can let me go ahead and share instead of just pointing at the air. All right.
Now it might be useful if it's a model that really gets complicated. If you can split it up.
Yeah, oh, I got the wrong. There we go. Okay. So what I'm doing in this one is I am modeling the Azure Marketplace and the Janaga replicator configuration portal. So I've got two files, the model IPYNB and the Azure IPYNB. So so this one talks about how the replicator as a service is set up. So you can user can create a replicator, name it, set the environment, and delete it. Then they can configure authentication. So authenticate with Apple, authenticate with Google, and then authenticate, set up the OAuth stuff. So this is all about the replicator as a service, RAAS. This model is all about, oh, and when you import, it not only shows all the graphs, it actually has all the text rendered out. So, which is actually kind of helpful. It's like, oh yeah, I imported that because I need that model, so I can just go back and read it. And then we get here to the actual Azure Marketplace stuff. And so this is the entire Azure Marketplace model, which I copied from another notebook, because that one's in the Azure Marketplace landing page. But if it was in this repository, I would have wanted to import that one too. And then from here, I can talk about the integration between the two. So you've got the replicator as a service principal, and then the Azure environment, and how you can make that service principal an authorized principal in that environment. So this idea here of allocating subscriptions. So you go to the Azure Marketplace and you create a subscription, and then that allocates it to a replicator as a service replicator through this fact. So so I want one model that describes one bounded context, Azure, and another model that describes another bounded context, replicator as a service. And then this model, or this notebook
merge
the two. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I see. And so in both models, you already use Janaga client.
Yes.
And
in this case,
what happened if you combine them?
Yeah. So there were a few things that prevented me from even going that direction to try it out. But just reasoning through it, I think it would run into problems. Okay, but yeah, the first thing is that so far I'm just doing fact type diagrams. I'm not actually doing any data or any fact instance diagrams, and so I don't actually need to create a Janaga client in order to accomplish this. But in order to fully document it and show scenarios, I would want to do that. So because I haven't done that, it wouldn't run into any problems yet. But then the other thing is, like in this one, this whole model here was just a copy-paste because this model is described in a notebook that's in a different repository. So I didn't want to have an import across repositories. But if that weren't the case, then I would have done this as an import. So if those two things weren't the case, weren't true, then I would have created the diamond. And what I suspect would have happened, if we go back up here, is that, okay, so this, so I did organize it a little bit differently than you showed, but I think what you showed would have made a lot more sense. We would have had this setup, which would have imported the packages and created the Janaka client, and then we would have we would import the setup, and then have the replicator model in one notebook, and then in another notebook, again import the setup, but then describe a different model. So you then when you get to the fourth one at the bottom of the triangle, or the diamond, then you will end up importing the first one twice. And I think what will happen is it will choose one path or the other. Well, probably it'll just use the order in which you expressed your imports, and it'll say, okay, import that first one, run that whole path, create a client, and then now import, run that second path, import the, that first one again, the setup, creating a new client, and then come down that path. And then by the time you get here, you will have the second Janaka client. The first one will have been discarded, and you'll just have the data for the from the second model. Which actually, now that I think that through, might not be a problem if you just have the data from the second model, because you're not really interested in the data from either of these two models. You're importing it for the model itself.
The new model.
Yeah. So maybe that's okay. So maybe, let's think this through. Let me draw out a, let's see, app dot, no, lucid dot app. There we go. So get me logged in there, and I've got, let's just create a new Lucid Spark. Okay. Okay, so what struck my brain now is that we are interested in data only at the lowest level. So let's suppose that we've got, here is the Azure Marketplace model. And here is the replicator as a service model. And so those are types. They have type graphs, and so they have to import the NuGet packages. So since they need to import all the same NuGet packages, we have something that imports the packages that now they both point to. So this one does not create a Janaka client, though. It just imports the packages. That way, if you need to upgrade versions, you do this in one place, everybody gets the new version. So now if you want to actually execute the Azure Marketplace model, then you can have the Azure Marketplace specifications in here, and that would need to, and so that would create some test data and create some specifications, show you some fact instance diagrams, write some things out, but it couldn't be interspersed with the model, which does interfere a little bit with telling the story. But maybe you set up the story by talking about the facts, and then here let's talk about scenarios. That's not too bad. But now, in order for this to work, it needs to create a Janaga client. So here we can have the Janaga client set up. So this is almost right. Now, in order to create a Janaga client, you do need to have the packages. So so now here you've created a diamond, but the top of the diamond is just importing packages, and we know that it can do that twice if they're the same versions. It's not going to complain.
As long as you don't create the object, it's not a problem.
Right. So I think going through having this import first and then that import, and then you start creating objects and fact type graphs or fact instance graphs, I think you're good. So then you can describe the Azure Marketplace specifications, and then do something similar over here with the replicator as a service specifications. So that's got some types and such. And that also needs the Janaga client. But the rule is you never import these two together, because that would create a diamond with Janaga client at the top, and you don't want to create more than one Janaga client. So in order to merge these two, you would have the integration model, and you would have the integration specifications. And so now you could say the model depends upon model here, model here. Boom. And then it
depends upon,
yeah, that depends upon the model. And it depends upon that, so it can create some data. Now, we don't have a planar graph anymore, but that means that anytime you run specifications, you're just importing the Janaga client once. But then you're getting all of the model pieces, all of the types that you need. Starts to get kind of a complex picture, but I think this solves the problem.
It should, because in fact you only in each scenario you only use Janaga client once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I thought of a little hack. You'd notice that the imports don't do relative referencing very well. But if every import starts with ... then it doesn't matter which subdirectory it's in, it's going to go back out to the main directory. So everything will have to be in a subdirectory, but then it can import ... and then no matter where you're starting, ... means the same thing. So that means you can have things like...
Okay, but then your setup and your model also have to be in a subdirectory.
Yes, yeah, everything would have to be in a subdirectory. Yeah, so then maybe you can organize it. Yeah, Yeah, you know me, I don't really like arrows that go sideways, but you know what? This actually kind of calls for it. So now you've got 3 subdirectories. So you've got your setup subdirectory that has these 2 things in it, your model subdirectory, and then your specifications subdirectory.
Okay.
And then you can do relative imports. You know, dot dot model, this model, dot dot setup, that setup.
Yeah. That's nice.
Okay, and actually the graph doesn't look quite so bad that way once I get over the fact that they're horizontal arrows. All arrows should be pointing up. I've even noticed yeah, I could not actually bring myself to move this a couple of pixels up to make that truly horizontal. It's still pointing a little bit up. Okay. Yeah.
Because if there is no other way to avoid that, if you go one branch, he doesn't know about the other instance. So, like making a singleton is not possible because you don't know whether there is already an instance created.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look,
Okay. And so
it
then
demands creative solutions, but at least they are available.
Yep. Yep. Frames. There we go. Boom. So that means you put your unit tests here, and now you just run all those notebooks. Yeah. Record the output of all those different specifications. Take a snapshot.
Yeah. And can you just run multiple notebooks, or you just select all of them and you right-click and you run? I never tried it.
No, I think that we would also need to build a runner from the outside that automates notebooks, because it's going to need to look into the contents and compare the old versus the new. So load an IPYNB, grab all the the results, then run all, grab the results again, compare, and then do that for this one and this one and this one for everything in that folder, and then give you a result of these, or a report of all results were the same or these results were different.
What we could do perhaps, so we had level 4 was the queries, all the queries, and then we make one level 5 notebook, which just imports all the 4s.
Yeah. Okay.
And we run that notebook, so it will one after another run all the query notebooks. Of course, every time we will create a new Jinaga client, but that probably doesn't matter.
That will be fine. Because that actually gives you test isolation. So in that case, it's a good thing. Yeah. Got to figure out a way to do this without clicking twice over here every time. But, yeah. Okay. So the challenge then will become, how does this runner notebook know to look at the results? It can, just hitting run all executes them all, but then you have to visually inspect, because you'll see all the output. You'll see the output from even the models. You see all of the graphs that are up there, and then you'll see all these instance graphs that come out here, and you'll see the the results. Yeah, it's going to be a lot to visually inspect, and then as you're inspecting it, you don't have the previous results. You don't have the snapshot to compare it to. So,
No,
so
but
yeah, I think
that could
this needs to be the...
in the runner we could the first time we store all the results, and it's there that we make the comparison with the previous result.
Yeah, I don't think that code inside of a notebook has access to the results that are stored inside that notebook. So you're just saying, hey, run this code, and it doesn't know about its context. You can't say, oh, wait a minute, there's already previous results stored in this IPYNB. Let me save those off, run again, and then compare.
Yeah, in that case, have the runner save the results to a runner.txt file or whatever, and retrieve them from that file.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, so you could have code inside of a notebook that writes to a file in the same folder, or even into a relative folder.
I didn't try it, but I guess because we can run pure C#, so
yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, right. So then you could set up the structure completely inside of notebooks. You can have the NuGet package has that code that saves the snapshots locally, and then at the end of the runner, after all these imports, it has a call to that NuGet package to say summarize, and then that outputs a report right there inside of the notebook. Yeah. So now then you need to be able to tell it, okay, actually record that snapshot. I've validated that that's true. Okay, that seems doable. So I think the objects are stuck in this one, yeah. So I have to figure out how to... I think if I delete this frame, it's going to delete all the nodes in it. No, it didn't. Okay, good. Yeah. That's not a bad idea.
So inside the runner, there has to be some code that is that comes from jinaga.graphics that will do the testing, the comparison actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and for that, I'll definitely rename it to jinaga.notebook. So it's all the notebook support. GraphViz is just part of it. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, jinaga.jupyter? No.
Yeah, it's based on Jupyter, but it's technically not Jupyter. It's Polyglot. So, yeah, I think notebook makes sense. All right. Yeah, this is definitely rising up the ladder.
Don't do it tonight.
No. The most important thing is to... There we go. Yeah, the most important thing is to get the replicator as a service into the Azure Marketplace. So the whole reason that I was modeling this is that this is where I was trying to just reason through integration without looking at models. It's like, this is getting kind of hard. So then once I looked at the models, I was like, oh, it's really simple. There are two integration points. We just do this when they log in. We do that when they create a replicator. Okay, it's integrated. But yeah, without seeing the models, it was a little bit hard to just reason through that.
The model in your head is it's not easy.
No. No, it's not.
Great.
Right. Yeah.
Next week I will not be there because I have something where I cannot escape.
Okay.
So no choice. But the week after I will be back.
Okay. All right. Well, then next week I will, if everything goes well, I will, or even if I don't actually get it to the public marketplace. Next week, I will show off the replicator in the Azure marketplace and give people that whole walkthrough.
Mhm.
Unless
Great.
something
Then I
else
will watch
comes
it
up.
offline.
All right.
Then
Very
in
good.
2 weeks' time, I should have something in Maui working.
Excellent.
All right, Michael. Thank you very much, and see you in 2 weeks then.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, John.
Okay.
See you then.
Bye bye.